Great. Done. Okay, so let's start. What are we going to talk about today? No idea what we're going to talk about today. Something about compassion.
Passion.
Stupid compassion. No. Well, when we were talking about, I was just going to teach actually on Saturdays, Sundays, Tuesdays that I'm already teaching, and then on Thursdays. But then Thursday is actually Thanksgiving, so we said, "Oh, we're gonna miss a class," or it doesn't make sense. So then we said, "Okay, so we're gonna do something on Monday and Wednesday." So it became two for the no, one for the price of two. Actually, I was giving one more guess, and then I said, "Wow, what we can talk about?" And I said, "Well." We did the meditation on the Heart Sutra on Saturday, which is to talk about, the development of wisdom. So that understanding of developing the wisdom of the mind. And then I said, well, it's very important that we also talk about compassion, that we try to understand what actually in Buddhism it means to be a compassionate person. Because otherwise, we come with always listening to this idea of compassion, 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 but we don't truly understand what it means. And we ended up afterwards complaining that I'm burnout. I tried, and but nobody kind of like gives say thank you, or we start to kind of like get angry with people. Quite the opposite of actually the result of the practice of compassion should be. Does it make sense? Yes. So I said, okay, so let's try to really understand the mind of compassion in Buddhism. What it means when we talk about compassion, how we can develop, or where or what type of compassion we are trying to develop. Is compassion by itself enough? Or what else we need to apply together with the mind of compassion that can really make and transform it into what the Buddha was talking about when he was talking about compassion. Okay? So it's important for us to what we're going to try to talk in the next few weeks is to try to understand why to practice compassion. Right? Oh, because it's a good thing to do. That's not enough in Buddhism. Okay? Or because the Buddha said, not enough as well. Because the monk said, definitely not enough. So actually, it's for us to come up with our own understanding why we want to practice compassion. I always say that in Buddhism, it's not about I have to. You don't have to do anything, honestly. You don't have to. I don't have to. I shouldn't. I must. Um, and the opposite. I don't have to. I shouldn't have to. I mustn't. That kind of like those tight minds. But actually, is the development of a wish. And the development of I want to do something, it needs to come from understanding. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, oh, why do you want to do that? Ah, because I want to. Really? There's always an idea behind that wish, even if you're not really clear, but there's there. And if we're really going to look into it and we're going to try to look in a good way these next few weeks, the wish that is always present in our lives, even when we are not conscious, even when we are, or in Western psychologies, we say the unconscious mind and all of that. It's always there. The wish that is always present there is a selfish wish. It's just me, myself, and I. Right? That's it. If we actually think about it, the mind that is always present in our lives is the wish for me to be happy, isn't it? We talked about yesterday. I talked about that is the Dalai Lama always talk about that. He always says that the wish to be happy and to not suffer is always there. So that is the wish that is always present. But that wish right now it's concerned about one person's happiness and one person's freedom from suffering. Whose? Me, myself, and I. Me, 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 me. And guess what? What we need to try to check what we need to try to check these in this next weeks is to really see if that type of wish really accomplishes the other part, which is to find happiness and to not find not suffering, right? If we're actually following that idea that just being concerned of my own happiness and my own freedom from suffering really achieves that wish of happiness and suffering. Does it make sense what I'm talking about? Yes? So that is what we're going to try to understand. And for that, we need to see what we say it is the opposite of mind of it. Hmm? The mind that we are always talking about, which is the opposite of the mind of, selfish, is the altruistic mind or a compassionate mind. So we need to try to understand what compassion really is. So anyone has any idea what is the definition of compassion in the dictionary? No? Any idea?
It's the will to selflessly seek the improvement of others.
It would be good if it was that beautiful. It's a little bit less. I was checking and it's more about a sympathetic hola, a sympathetic concern,
Oh, very good.
right? Okay? For the suffering or the misfortune of others. Okay? So it's very nice. It's a sympathetic pity, they use also these words sometimes, or concern for the misfortunes or suffering of others. Buddhism has a different meaning for compassion. The word karuna, which is in Sanskrit, is a very different idea of it. Why? Because it starts with a wish. It is a deep wish, okay? A deep wish to see sincerely all beings, everybody, free from their suffering and the causes of their suffering. So what causes them to suffer? Does it make sense what I just said? So that is the definition of compassion in Buddhism, which is already miles apart from actually our understanding of compassion. Because if we're going to look into the understanding of compassion that we have right here and right now in our lives, it's a very up down view. Yes? If you think about it, like pity is a little bit of a up down, yeah, up, up, yeah, just up down, yes, up down view. Is like I am here, you are there, and I pity you, isn't it? We very difficult, very hardly we have pity of those that are above us. Hmm? Those that are more wealth.
What is the word you're using?
Pity?
Pity.
Pity. Oh, yeah. It's the pity from the English that I got. So it's the pity. Yes? So the pity is actually that mind that is looking down to others as if they are poor things, right? I have what I need to be happy, and others are there suffering, and I am so sorry for you guys, right? I just think something there. So that is very different than the idea of compassion in Buddhism. So it's a very this top-down movement, this top-down view, it's a very different view from the view that we are talking about here. We are talking a more non-referential in the sense of like there's no limit, right? It doesn't matter if you are suffering up down there or if you're up there, you're still an object of compassion. Yes? A pity mindset sees only those that are below us. And below can be, of course, in different areas, no? Like, of course, if not only money wise, but maybe you kind of like, like in smart wise, or, if someone is less, or even like physically, anything that we are kind of like, we have that idea that we are superior. Hmm? There is a lot of that still contaminated. Huh? And not only that, there is not a wish to do anything about that situation of others. Compassion right now is almost kind of like a, oh, yes, poor thing, isn't it? Oh, yes, it's very sad this. Oh, yes, very sad that this is happening. Oh, yes, that's not what we're talking here. Compassion in Buddhism is almost like a verb, it's an action, it's something that we actually do to practice. We practice by doing it, not only by having ideas of like, oh yes, good thing, no, like this. Yeah, I hope that they can be good. No, I hope yes. I hope that they can be free from that. No, yes, yes, yes. But I don't do anything to help that. Right? So that is definitely not the idea of what actually we are talking about, because it's a very limited view of the situation, of the suffering of others, and actually of our own potential. Hmm? That is very important. The way the ordinary view of compassion that we have right now is just that limited idea of, you know, I can be compassionate for this person, that person, and that's it. I cannot, I don't care about the other people, especially those that are above me or better than me. If I am like, wanting a how do you say, a new job now, a promotion at work, and if my friend got it and I didn't, forget about compassion about that person, right? Forget about it. It's gone. Before we were like, oh yes, yes, oh yeah, no, I hope you can get it as well, like, oh yeah, it was super friendly. The moment he got it or she got it and you didn't, forget about compassion. So compassion is very, very limited, huh? And very kind of like circumstantial in the sense of like it depends on how people are doing, and how we are. Does it make sense? So it's limiting our own potential that the Buddhism says, actually, you have the potential to help, to wish, to really help, to do something about eliminating the suffering and the causes of suffering of all beings, every single one of them. Either they are up, down, side, whatever, in front of whatever, wherever they are. So these helps us already to start to really learning about compassion in Buddhism. I feel kind of like gives us a sense of like, wow, wait a minute, really? Me? Can I do that? Can I really help others in that way? Can I have a mind that is so vast that doesn't have any distinction? Yeah. Distinction between gender, age, like wealth, or like whatever, is based on understanding something a bit deeper than what we are now using about what we are talking about compassion, right? It's not about just a material help. It's not just about, some type of kind of like a external aspect of help. Does it make sense what I'm talking about? Yes? Actually, the compassion that Buddhism is talking about is based on understanding or developing certain mental states that are prior, let's say like that, of the Buddhist type of compassion. And it's kind of like we need to prepare the mind so we can actually accomplish that definition of, the wish to help others being free from suffering and the cause of suffering. All beings. It's very important to say all beings. Yes? How can we actually develop that? What can we do to develop that? Just stay there and say, oh, yes, oh, yeah, I wish these people could be free from suffering. No. One of the most important mental states that we have to develop, or we can develop, and if you want to achieve that, is the mind of equanimity. Have you heard about equanimity? Yes. Equanimity right now is, is kind of like when you are on an airplane and you're in economy class, We are all in equanimity in that moment, right? But sometimes there's those people, even in economy class, that they have the emergence exit role, so they are not in the same equanimity over there. Okay, so that is the type of equanimity we normally think. It's like, oh, yeah, we are all on the same boat. We are all on the same kind of like, we are having that. Not that type of equanimity. Equanimity is such a deep mind because it has the idea or the understanding that actually we need to first understand what suffering is for ourselves, what it means, and what causes us suffering, so we can understand the suffering that we are trying to help others to eliminate. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yes? Because if we don't understand what is the suffering and the type of and the cause of suffering that we are trying to eliminate, forget about it. I'm not going to be able to actually help that feeling of that suffering to be eliminated. Hmm? So it's important that we start to understand from analyzing ourselves what actually suffering means. Because otherwise we have a tendency to think, as the ordinary idea of compassion is just a temporary elimination of suffering. Yes? Not what we are talking about in Buddhism. We are talking about eliminating completely, permanently suffering and the causes of suffering. Yes? These talks are gonna sound sometimes a little bit megalomaniac. Is megalomaniac? How do you go? Megalomaniac? Megalomaniac. I never know where is the megalomaniac. Because it seems like, what are you talking about? Eliminate completely, helping all beings, and kind of like, but with what we are gonna try to develop throughout these weeks is the understanding that is possible that we can do that. Huh? So we need to start with understanding suffering. And suffering is very easy for us to observe our lives. Hmm? Especially, okay, physical suffering, easy to observe how we physically suffer, especially when we start to get older and older, right? And then hurt here, and then there, and then there, and then everywhere, like, and you're like, what do I have to do, Rinpoche, Lamazo Rinpoche, in 2011, he had a stroke. So he had one side of his body paralyzed, and he had diabetes, and he had high blood pressure, and all of that. Of course, if you see the diet of the Tibetan monasteries, you're gonna know why they always have that, right? Because it's just carbs and carbs and carbs and carbs, right? So many of them, unfortunately, have diabetes or have a high blood pressure. So uh, Rinpoche, at some point, like when he had the stroke, everybody was kind of like, very worried and all of that. And Rinpoche was just like trying to take the pill and laughing because his mouth would go like this and all of that. And he said, oh, this body, already becoming a problem, suffering here already, But then he said, especially recently, just before he passed away, he said, ah, maybe better to have a new body, maybe more beneficial to have a new body, right? Because the body is going to be there, suffering, deteriorating. That's what's going to happen. So he knew that. So he was not surprised that that started to happen, and that happened to him, that he had like a stroke, and that it's not a surprise. It's there. It's part of our daily lives. We all know that. But the mental suffering, that, in some ways, right now, I'm going to pay attention to what I'm going to say, is not so much of a choice. Okay? We don't have a choice to choose right now, 100% of the time, okay, to not suffer. It's just so ingrained in our minds, the causes of our suffering, that it just pops up. We all know how, like our friend yesterday, I can't remember, Mary was sitting there and she said, I woke up with this idea to be so happy and all of that, and then someone did something, and I was like, yeah. Immediately I got angry, right? Automatically. So that automatic aspect of our minds of creating a situation that makes us angry, jealous, proud, or attached, or whatever it is, that is mental suffering. Does it make sense? Because when we are under the influence of these mental states, we are not happy, we are not in peace, we are suffering, mentally suffering. Yes, that makes sense what I'm talking about. Do you recognize that? That anxiety that comes with those mental states, that kind of like craving, that all of those that after we have in our bodies, no? And then we have cancer, then we have that, then we have all of the different types of health problems that we have due to the mind. Does it make sense? Not having the control and then just popping up in our minds. Yes? Yes? Are we communicating? So that type of suffering that we have is the main type of mental suffering in our lives. Is the suffering that is always the potential to appear. Let's call it like this. In a more very kind of like a correct term is all encompassing, all embracing, is always present. Because as long as we have the mind that we have now and the body as we have, as we see it now, is going to come up. Yes? It has the potential to come up. So, but where this suffering comes from, what are the main causes of this suffering? As we were saying, in the present moment, when we are angry, the angry mind, it's what's creating that experience of suffering. Yes? So the negative emotions or the disturbing emotions, they are the cause of our suffering. Does it make sense what I'm talking about? Yes? So they are the cause of the present moment experience of suffering. Yes, when I am just driving and someone cuts in front of me, and my mind immediately reacts with anger. That moment, who is suffering? The guy in front of me? Zero, right? He's just going to cut everybody in front of you more and everybody, he doesn't care. Who is suffering? Who is agitated? Who is kind of like, like, and like a kind of like, a maniac trying to do everything with that person? You are agitated. You are disturbed. That disturbance that happens, it's caused by the negative mental state. Yes? Does it make sense? Bob, you had a question?
I'm just trying to understand if that occurs simultaneously. Does the emotion occur instantaneously with the event? So you use driving as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Is there suffering before we put a label on it or before we have an emotion?
Let's say that the potential for suffering is always there.
Right.
But the problem is that normally we are jumping from anger to attachment to pride to jealousy to this, and then sometimes to compassion, but compassion contaminated by this me view, which is also suffering. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So we don't have a moment of, there's no, one of my teachers used to say, there is no vacation in samsara. There's no vacation for suffering, right? We are just jumping from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. So that is what normally is happening, right? We are just look at our minds. We are not in peace when we are driving. We are just thinking about what is the next thing I need, right? The craving, the grasping, attachment is almost always present in our minds. Question?
So what I'm struggling with is the idea of survival.
Good.
I guess it's what drives a lot of things. I mean, you need to, and we live in a comfortable environment, so it's not survival like,
Yes.
I understand that. But isn't it sort of instinctive,
Yes,
where you have to sort of be ahead of the person next to you for survival?
So,
and how do you temper that?
yes. Very good. You know what is the how the Buddhist how Buddhism would call about that instinct? Habit. And the habit that we have right now, as I said in the beginning, is a selfish habit. Wait. That, as you were saying, it can be useful when we are in a situation of threat, right? But it's because we have that tendency, that believing that, as you say, move ahead of this person is actually going to bring something that I need, which is survival in that way. But because we don't also have this mental space to think that actually, if I partner with this person, I might go beyond. That was why cities and all of our communities started to come together. In Neanderthal times, they started to realize that if they would come together, they would be stronger.
But we don't live in a society that kind of.
Now we are discussing something completely different.
But I mean, I'm kind of constantly feel that I have to be aggressive and
Yes.
driven
Yes, I understand.
to protect because I've got no one that I can fall back on. So
Yes.
I feel like I need to protect everything of mine so I can survive.
Absolutely.
So I can do good deeds and things like that.
Absolutely.
But that's a struggle for me.
Yes,
because
yes.
Suffering.
Yes, because why suffering? Because we are kind of like constantly in that, like protection with this me. Is that me that is actually the cause of the suffering, not the opposite. And that is why it's so hard for us to make that kind of like distinction, because we believe, as you say, society is saying to us exactly the opposite. Do that, otherwise everybody's gonna eat you alive, right? And actually, if we start to understand, that is not the reality of how things are. If we really look, we are completely in our society interdependent. That is the reality. It doesn't matter what not propaganda, the marketing and kind of like advertising people are gonna tell you or whatever. That's not how it is. We are not individual beings. We individual in the sense of individualistic. We are not. We are social beings. We need each other in order to survive. We need mom and dad to give us a body first. Without them, nobody, right? And then after, we need the mother. We are one of the only animals, one of the only species that is so taken care of, right? That is completely useless when the moment we are born until we are like 18. Almost, right? So there is that need, constant need of others. And then everything that we like and we enjoy, food and a shelter and aircon and a car and all of that, it's only because of the interdependence with others. But we believe that I need to protect myself. So that creates I'm not saying that we don't need to work, we don't need to do our things, but if we would do the same thing with a totally different mind, we would achieve a much better result, because people would be kind, people would be in a much better environment, and you would still get what you want. That is what is starting to get more and more. I was reading the other day on Harvard Business Review, the idea of the compassionate leader. They are starting now to realize that actually being compassionate to others is more beneficial for productivity than actually being, I'm sorry, I'm going to swear now, a bitch to others, right? But it's like, there's a movie I love that is a Disney movie called Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. Yes, it's you have grandchildren, so he knows. So they are kind of like they need to scare the kids so they can have their energy, right? And they are there, then kind of like there's all of this creation of the government of the monsters say that kids are very dangerous and you cannot have kids, blah 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 blah, you cannot interact with them, you just scare them and all of that because they're kids. And then at one time, I can't remember the little thing, he makes the children laugh, and that gives thousands more energy than actually scaring them. So do you understand what I'm getting here? This is exactly what our like society is slowly, very slowly, is starting to recognize that actually helping each other and being mutually beneficial to each other is a much better approach in all levels than being individuals, isolated individuals. So, unfortunately, if we're going to just wait for others to do it, we need to start with ourselves, right? Someone needs to give the first step, and then we do what we can, right? So, a personal experience. I was in finance, right? It was me, and I was a very 0.0 nothing partner in this kind of like asset management in Brazil, right? But it already was. I need to do things so I can get the recognition, so I can get the bigger bonus. Say I get. It was just about me, and I couldn't. I just couldn't be like that. It was just something that was very strong. So I was just nice to everybody. I used to go to the birthday party of the cleaning lady, and going to the birthday party of the billionaire guy, because it was just, and that made my experience in that environment much better than all of theirs. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Because everybody was just, when I decided to go out, two of the biggest business partners, they started crying, saying, I admire the courage you're having to do that. Because I'm trapped in this mentality that I need to be a bitch to others to survive. It's a completely illusion of the mind. But we need to start, and we can, right? So then you realize that you, by being kind, nice. My brother is like this. My brother is very, very nice guy. He kind of like, he's always treating everybody nice and all of that. So everybody's treating him nicely as well. So that's what actually we start to understand, that is much more realistic. Does it make sense? Yeah? There's no easy path. But what we say is that we need to start with ourselves. Yes? Nick.
So kind of a similar issue, but a little different.
Mhm.
Like in my family, I was raised to be more cold to people.
Cold.
Yes.
Distant.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was having a discussion with my wife. She was telling me a problem she had, and I was like, "Well, that sounds like you're really struggling with that." I meant to say something more compassionate, but it came out that way out of habit.
Yes.
You know, it sounds like you're having a hard time. And
she was
I
like,
corrected myself. Yeah, she was like, "Well, that's not,
that's what I want to hear."
But I did care, like internally, you know, I did care. It just
Yes.
it came out the wrong way, because that's like
Habit.
17 years of my life.
Habit. Yeah. So what is there's a question or a comment? Oh.
Yeah, like I felt like I had the right intention, because internally I felt the compassion.
Yes.
Right? But it didn't come out the right way.
It's very good. Yes. Next class, I think we're going to talk a bit more. We're going to talk a bit more about skillful means. Very important. It's not about just, we say that we have two aspects of compassion, right? Actually, we're going to talk about the development of that compassion into the mind that actually we were trying to achieve in Buddhism, which is not just compassion, but is a bigger compassion, okay? It's like a awakened compassion type of a mind. But that has two aspects, let's say like this, okay? And one of them is what we call the aspirational compassion, yeah? And what we say, I really wish others to be free from suffering. But then we have the engaging compassion, which is not just saying, oh yeah, I wish, but like, okay, what can I do to help you to do that? To like, be free from that. Or what can I do to help you go through this suffering? You do something. Why is so important? Because will help you to do what? To reduce your me, which is, as we say, that actually the main cause, well, we are going to get there because we're talking about suffering, the main cause of our suffering. Yes? So it's not just having a wish, but applying and acting upon that wish. Yes, is that the correct English? Acting upon that wish. Yes? So, but that requires training. It doesn't mean that you cannot. That is the best thing about understanding the mind. It's a moldable. Can we mold? Yes, we can mold in whatever way we want. So the more we understand and learn about things that can actually bring us more happiness and less suffering, we mold the mind into that direction. We train the mind. It's like here is a gym for the mind. Does it make sense? So, but then you can develop that. So now you did it already. Look at how amazing this is, Nick. You realized, oh, that's a habit. I have the wish, but I just blurbed, that, and she didn't like it. Wow, next time I can try to do something different because it's a habit. Therefore, it can be changed. It doesn't define who you are. It's not you. It is. That's why language sometimes really helps. It is a habit that I have. Therefore, can be changed. Does it make sense? So with time, you're gonna be, oh, wait a minute, my wife, what does she need? She needs maybe more something like this. Oh, my mom like that, my dad like that, my friend like that. You become more kind of like, how do I say, um, fluid. Yes, because it's not anymore about you and about what you think it is that they need to stop suffering. It's about them. That is the biggest shift that we are trying to achieve. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes? Great.
I can tell you from personal experience that I lived the vast majority of my life when someone came to me with a problem of giving them the solution
Yes.
without any empathy. Didn't occur to
Yes.
me. I didn't even know that. Never understood why they were not just happy with the solution.
Yes.
What is it? I just gave you the solution. What are you not happy about?
Why are you stupid?
Cognitive empathy and there's emotional empathy.
But
Never occurred to me.
This is very, very good, Bob. This is exactly how our minds work. It's like we go into certain patterns of the mind, habits that's like we learned or we think is gonna be the solution, and then we become that kind of like pattern, and we say, well, we're just gonna apply. We become like how do we? It's like the uh the building factory, like a robot, but more than this, like
Production line.
the production line. We just have the production line. It's like every person that comes in front of us is the same. It's just the same thing. We just give the same thing. We become fast food compassion. It's like, okay, this is yours. Okay, this is yours. That's not what it is about, right? It's not at all. Why? You know why? The reason why we do that is because you're stupid? No. It's because you're not compassionate? Because no. It's because we don't understand what the cause of suffering actually is. You believe that the external, like fixing the computer or fixing that situation or fixing oh, you just go to the doctor. There you go. Yeah, I call the doctor. Yeah, okay, you have an appointment. Yeah, great. We think that the external solution or the external fixing of the problem is the problem. Does it make sense?
Oh yeah.
It's not. Remember? Well, you guys don't have, but we have with all of the external objects, we impute in them all the Brazilian drama on top of it, right? So then it's not only the solution of the external thing. It's all of the emotion together with kind of like the story and the representation and this meaning that all of that. That is the problem. That is the suffering that we are talking about. Yes, does it make sense what I'm talking about? We are trying to really pinpoint more and more the real cause of the suffering. It's not because the computer broke. It's not because the bone broke. It's not because of that. It's because of the mind that creates that. Oh, but because this computer is amazing and it's so beautiful, and without it, I'm gonna kind of like die. Without it, I'm not gonna be happy. Without it, that is the cause of the suffering. Yes? So that is what we call those negative or disturbed mental states. And guess what? They are already bad when they are happening in the moment. But they have another amazing aspect of the mind, not them, but our minds have another aspect, which is the mental states that we have. If we engage with them, if we actually, kind of like feed them, they give seeds, babies. So that means that we create a habit, we create a pattern. We are habitual beings. So the more we have a mind in our minds, and the more we allow it to arise and we engage with it, the the easier it becomes to come back. That's what a habit is, or just a neural pathway. Right? What a neural pathway is, we have a thought, and then it opens a certain pathway. And then we have that thought again, it becomes easier, and becomes easier, and becomes easier, and that becomes a habit. And for 17 years, we're doing that. Then it's like, you, 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 you. That is,
7 years.
Or 70. So, that is the problem. That it kind of like creates suffering for us now and creates suffering for us again in the future. So it's just that circle of non-stop of suffering. But we don't understand that. When we talk about ordinary compassion, and also when we talk about being compassionate in Buddhism, because we don't understand what compassion is, we also don't understand what the cause of the suffering is. What we try to do, fix also the external aspect of people. Does it make sense? It's just what we try to do. We say, oh, yes, okay, so I'm going to become very compassionate and become generous, and I'm going to give a little dollar to the monk, to the poor monk, and I'm very compassionate. Right? That's what we think. So we are doing the same idea of the ordinary mind, and we bring it to Buddhism, to practicing Buddhism. Does it make sense what I'm saying? And we just start the same thing, thinking that, oh, yes, I need to be kind. I need to say all of these kind of like nice things, or I need to be generous. And that is going to be compassion to others. No. Is it really going to help that person to decrease their negative mental states? Because the negative mental states are the cause of the suffering. So how you giving, a kind of like a $5 bill to someone is actually going to help them.
So how do you help them?
You transform yourself.
What?
Transform yourself. And then you start to have, like, for example, and transform yourself doesn't mean you need to just when you eliminate all the cause of your suffering, then you can help others. Don't, I'm not saying that. If you say that, I'm not going to say that. But what Nick just gave the example, right? Now he started to realize. So right now he can start changing himself. Therefore, he can already start helping his wife. Yes. Now, with just by slowly changing aspect of himself. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yes. So it's not about completely transformation and completely elimination of the mind. Only then we can help others. But it's by understanding that, wait a minute, the reason why I don't actually practice authentic compassion is because I'm thinking about me. It's like, I think that we have that expression in English. It says, what is in it for me? Right? That is the motivation why we are practicing compassion right now. Okay, but what is in it for me? Right?
Isn't that the reason we're practicing Buddhism right now? The whole thing?
Yeah, in a way, let's face it, yes, but that's the perfection of Buddhism. Because Buddhism is going to use exactly what we have as autopilot to kind of like eliminate itself, to transform itself, right? Is what His Holiness always says. We start to use our selfish mental state, but to be wisely selfish. Yes? So what does it mean that? Actually means what I was telling Haley. I always confuse Haley and Tara. So Haley is that actually, if I, by understanding and learning Buddhism and learning what we're talking now and talking about compassion and all of that, if I become more altruistic, I actually receive more than by just being selfish. Because being selfish gives me that sensory, temporary pleasure or temporary satisfaction or temporary kind of like security, but then comes back again, the fear. But when I start to really change that mental state, to really transform that mental state, and I start to understand that actually I'm interdependent with every single sentient being in the universe. Every single person makes it balanced for us to have what we have now. It's the butterfly effect. No, we say that something like a butterfly here affects like something in Japan or whatever it is that they say. Yes. Hmm? So the food, we just had a dinner, me and Debbie. Debbie has been very nice. She invited me for dinner. And all of the like vegetables that we ate, there was all of these interdependency happened that happened for that to have to arrive there. Does it make sense what I'm saying? All of the people that kind of like cultivated that like planted the seeds, that cultivated the fields, that take out the vegetables, that kind of like put it in somewhere, and then they sold to these, and then the people at the supermarket, the people. Look at the chain of interdependency. So why we think that my happiness is more important than all of these people that have made me having what I want? Why? Honestly, why? Does it make sense what I'm saying? I'm not saying the reason why. I'm not saying that we shouldn't think about our own kind of like, having food. But if I just use my food to just keep constantly chasing temporary pleasures for myself, it's almost like a crime against these people that have been doing all of these things to help me. Does it make sense?
What's an action has a non-local consequence.
Sorry?
An action
Yes.
has a non-local
There's a global
consequence.
Yes.
And the integration of that helps you get above the sort of kill or be killed.
Well, it's more than that. It's really understanding interdependency.
Yeah.
It's just that. And interdependence doesn't mean the direct interdependence that we have with our, like a whatever family or boss and work and all of that. Is that all? That's why when we say in the definition of compassion, we talk about all beings.
I've been through the Hermetic schools,
right?
And that's the hardest.
It's very hard because we don't get that. We don't get that all beings are actually needed for us to have what we want, right? Everything is just interconnected in this sense, right? That's why we say that understanding karma, which is the cause and effect relationship, almost like the matrix of like how these kind of like influences these and this, is impossible for our very, very, very limited mind right now. We say only the mind of the Buddha that is completely free from everything can see all of these interconnections. Like, oh yes, in that life I met her, and then this and that. Because we're not only talking about this life in Buddhism, right? We're talking about previous lives. So we're talking about, oh yes, that's how we met, and then this how they helped me, and then that's how I can help them, and all of that. We see everything. Can see everything. all the connections. Wow, that's nice.
Can you explain what altruism means from a Buddhist perspective, like you have compassion?
We're gonna talk about more.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna we'll get there in the definition exactly. Thank you, dear.
Yeah, I wanted to ask kind of about empathy, like a kind of the opposite about fixing it. When you're talking, like when you're talking to someone and, you know, their boyfriend just broke up with them and you're feeling all the pain
Mhm.
and there's empathy, but there's no, like, I guess wisdom or
Yes,
elevation.
that idea that we get overwhelmed by people suffering, that is not compassion. That's stupid compassion. This class, I'm gonna be able to really say that phrase many times. I'm gonna be very happy, but because I had the movement, I said I'm gonna start the movement. Buddhists again, stupid compassion. So, but it is really like an understanding that of a non-understanding of really suffering, what suffering means. If you don't understand that the suffering is the mental state of that person, and that mental state is created by that person, right? And you cannot go inside of them and just turn into, "Tuck, okay, now gone." You know, you can't. What you can help them to have more tools, more wisdom, more skillful means to transform themselves.
Is it still me when you have the empathy? Like it,
In the sense of this empathy that we are saying, that is like, oh, but it kind of like, and then you kind of like, I was feeling so hurt that it just kind of like completely destroyed me and I had to stay in bed because I was so sorry because of this person. What is the benefit of that? Zero for you and for the person. So then it's about you. It's about me in that sense. But if it is like, wow, I completely relate to what you're talking about because I also felt like that, you know? I also felt, and you start to understand that the feeling that this person is having is similar in the sense of the way you feel as well. Actually, the way we all experience those negative emotions from the mental kind of like mechanics point of view is exactly the same, right? But what makes you suffer, like say anger or pride or kind of like heartbroken, is completely different than me or all of us. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yes, but the nature of that emotion is the same. That experience. Does it make sense what it means? So it means that when you are angry and you see someone else in anger, with angry, it's the experience within ourselves, it's felt and experienced individually the same, yeah, but the cause, the trigger, it's totally different, right? But the cause is the same, the negative mind of anger. Yes, does it make sense? That is much more, what is the word in not equanimity you use, empathy. That is more empathy in that sense. Yes, understanding that empathy with like, oh, I know exactly how it is because I also have anger inside of myself. Yes, so when you have that, then when you see someone, there is uh, I can't remember which of the verses that we in the Lojong text. It says when we see a person wicked in nature, or kind of like, you know, when also someone that is suffering, right? He says something like this: what are we gonna do? We know how it is horrible when you're angry. You're gonna go and say, more fire, go, more fire. Come on, right? If you actually have empathy, you're really gonna say, oof, wait a minute, I'm not gonna go here. I'm not gonna, even though I know I'm right, even though I know this person is wrong, even though this, I'm not gonna, it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about understanding that this person is in pain and suffering right here, right now, because they are angry. They are under the control of the angry mind. Does it make sense what I'm talking about?
So what is empathy?
Understanding that if this person is like this, you know, you recognize for yourself that this is the cause of your suffering. So you do something to help that person to decrease that mind.
There's
Yeah.
a cold empathy that's very dangerous, though.
There's no such thing in Buddhism.
Buddhism is called empathy?
Code,
Yeah, so I recognize your pattern. I've
Yeah.
learned that I'm unintegrated and I have no morality. Now I can destroy everything. It's very dangerous.
but I think that's
Yes.
it was a little bit maybe what Bob was trying to say is like
Yeah.
he just it's just is there's no real empathy in the sense of what empathy means. Empathy has that understanding of your suffering because of the negative mental states, yes, and realizing that if this person is angry, they having the same experience that I have so there's only the wish to say, oh no, I'm not gonna do anything about it. Like I'm gonna do something about it. I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna stop. I have the empathy, yes, that wish to say, no, 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 no. So that is it. Everything else that is kind of like then I decide to put more anger or more or to hurt that person more, that is already coming from a negative mental state.
Yes.
So there's
So
no
empathy is using skillful means to help them
yeah, yes,
out of
exactly.
their negative mental.
But that because you understand the suffering, because you understand from yourself. So that's why I started to talk about that. This is the basis. If we don't understand that, forget about it. We're gonna be cleaning and making that again. Cleaning, making that again. Putting patches, or band-aid. Okay, here. Oh yeah, here. And thinking, yes, I'm so happy. I'm doing such a good job. I'm such a good boy and a good monk because I'm putting patches. Come on, right? If you actually understand the suffering and the causes of suffering, you want to help yourself to eliminate that, and you're gonna do everything, train and transform yourself to help others, right? To help them eliminate, understanding that you don't eliminate their causes of suffering. Does it make sense? That is a very important point. It's a very important.
You help them with skillful means transform their mind.
Transform their mind, right?
Right.
They need to transform their mind.
Right.
So you need to understand whatever they need to transform their mind. It's not about you anymore. It's about their transformation.
Right.
And that is going to bring what? Happiness to your life. When you start to think like this. When you start to think, how can I help others transform their minds to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering? Now life becomes an entire different ball game, right? It's like it's not anymore about being me, 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 me. It's about actually being less me, 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 so I can help others. Does it make sense? What I just said? I think. Did you know?
So if you're trying to help someone
Yes.
to relieve their suffering and they're not open to receiving that help or they're not there yet, do you step back or
Get
step away?
Okay, so we already have a problem with that. When we are saying something like this, and I'm debating with you here, don't we have already an agenda or a specific idea of what is best and what this person has to be doing and how it is? And it's not about kind of like really trying our best to understand whatever it is for this person that might be good, even if it is just that or if it is that. So there's no fixed idea of what is the most beneficial thing for this person. Is there's just the pure intention and whatever means, skillful means that we might have at the moment to do that. So it can be walk away, it can be screaming, it can be talking lovely, it can be giving a hug, it can be giving a snap, it can be anything. Because compassion is not an action, an external action. It's an internal wish, and then the action will follow that wish. Does it make sense? I love it. I love your poker faces.
You need to sugarcoat it.
sugarcoat it a little bit. I love your poker face because you're like,
I'm not there yet.
well, none of us. Otherwise, we'll not be here. You know, it's not about kind of like thinking we need to perfect that tomorrow. Forget about it. Honestly, forget about it. It's not about perfecting it tomorrow. It's actually slowly transforming the mind so we can actually develop that. And once we transform it, and like we said, then we start to develop it. And it's going to take years and years and years, but that's fine because it's a much better way of living because it's much more authentic than actually living the way we are living now.
So it's an acceptance without condition.
Enlighten me what that means or clarify.
Well, so compassion. You
Mhm.
don't want to change them
Yes,
because that's implanting part of you in their outcome.
that is not about controlling the outcome of that because that's the ending result is that person being free from suffering. The cause for that to happen is them having the necessary wisdom, the necessary tools to do that job within themselves, right? That's it. Stop there. What you can do, whatever you can do to help them develop these skills and this wisdom. Does it make sense?
Yeah, so suffering is universal. I don't know if you
That comes like a lot of work.
Not hard.
Yeah, well,
It's a 0 point.
nobody said it was easy. That's the music, the Buddhist music, right?
45 RPM version. But so suffering of the three types of suffering. Suffering
Mhm.
does involve physical, not just mental. So
Yeah,
so
definitely.
how does that? But how does addressing that fit into what you're talking?
Well, it can be one of the ways for addressing, let's say, the
I step on a nail.
no,
Suffer.
definitely. So then you
Now,
understand.
part of that's mental because if I can mentally put myself in a place where it's physical pain, but it's not necessarily suffering.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
we'll say I'm not there, so I'm suffering.
Yes.
But
So
we can assuage the physical.
so you do have help. No, so you are throwing the baby with the bathwater, right? So it's not about saying, you don't actually help the physical aspect. You do, but you know
That's not fixing
the problem,
the root,
the real
the
issue,
root problem.
right? It's a little bit of what I was discussing. We were talking about the example that Bob gave. I don't understand why people are not kind of like happy when I'm giving the external solution, right? Well, because the external solution is just temporary, right? But it's not the attending or to the root cause. Yeah. So that is what we kind of like starts to make, kind of like going towards. That's when like really we start to understand what is the potential that we can have and that we can actually accomplish. But for doing that, we need to understand ourselves. Otherwise, it's a bit hypocritical, hypocritical. No, we kind of like say, oh yes, yeah, you should do this, or kind of like yeah, but and then you do the same thing, right? So that's why when Jack said, oh, how do we do that? The best and the only way is transforming yourself. But transforming yourself, how? What is the best actually way in Buddhism that we say that we can actually accomplish that goal? It's a mind that has already eliminated suffering in their minds and self-cherishing, selfish mindset. A mind that has already eliminated that, it's able to truly think about others without the hidden agenda. Yes? And not only that, but a mind that has also developed, perfected all the skillful means, that has all of that knowledge to say, go here, do that, this guy, be better for this person, better like this. That mind, that mental state that we all have the potential to achieve, the potential to develop, it's called Buddhahood. So that's why we say that when we start the altruistic mental state, the wish to help others, we actually start to understand that if I don't achieve those two mental states myself, of elimination of my selfish mind and my sufferings, and if I don't perfect my skillful means, my help will always be limited. So then, from that arises the biggest and most important motivation or intention or mental state or wish in Buddhism. That mind, the wish to become, to achieve that Buddhahood, that potential that we all have within ourselves right now, but to realize, to accomplish, to develop, right, that potential so we can benefit others. That wish, so it's not only the wish to help others like this, but to perfect ourselves so we can perfectly help others. It's called bodhicitta. That is the mind of enlightenment, we call. Why? Because it's the mind that wants to enlighten ourselves. Why? Because we understand that only by perfecting our skillful means and eliminating our self-cherish, our self-grasp, our selfish mind, and our negative emotions, we will be able to truly help others. Does it make sense? Yes?
Next lifetime.
Huh?
Next lifetime.
Next time? No way. No way.
Now.
It's a
I don't
wish.
I mean, I'm not sure I have enough time yet.
Yes, we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time to develop it. It's just, honestly, that's why I keep saying, and people sometimes get angry at me because I just make it saying that it's simple, but it's truly developing that wish. Because if we develop that wish, guess what? The mind, the body, and the speech are going to follow that wish. When I wish for cake, doesn't my body, my mind, and my speech go and drive to I don't know where to get the cake? Yes. So if I develop that wish, then my body, my mind, and my speech will go and do whatever is needed for that to happen. So it's constantly feeding, nourishing that wish by understanding those mental states. Does it make sense what are we talking, what are we discussing? It's kind of like, that's why I said it's a little bit like, it looks like too much, but we can start from where we are. We don't need to kind of like think, oh, okay, because yes, we do want to really develop that completely perfect our minds. That's a huge job, yes. But guess what? The more you get inspired by wanting to eliminate your own suffering and understanding that that is the cause of your suffering, but also every single person, every single being has that same suffering and cause of suffering within themselves. Let's say like that. By eliminating yours, you are actually eliminating everyone's in that sense. Does it make sense what I just said?
No.
So remember, I talked about equanimity. And equanimity is the mind that starts to understand. I didn't talk so much, so it's my fault. Equanimity is a mind that understands that actually we are exactly the same as everybody else of wanting to be free from suffering and to be happy. That inside of ourselves, the reason that we suffer is because of the negative emotions and how they create a tendency to just continue, right? So that is exactly the same, or the same causes that each person who is suffering and wants to be free from suffering have right now within themselves. So the reason why you are suffering is because you have in your mind negative emotions and the seeds that they keep coming back, right? What is in my mind? Same, different seeds, but also negative emotions. Does it make sense? So if I learn how to eradicate them for myself, yes, I'm going to have the wisdom to help you to eliminate yours. So that's why we say that the moment that I become a Buddha, we will be able to accomplish eliminating all the sufferings of everybody. Right? Not saying that's going to happen now, but it's going to be able to accomplish because we have everything that is needed. Does it make sense?
Yes, sort of. Yeah. Well, like if you become a Buddha, that doesn't make me a Buddha.
It's not, but it will, if we have that connection, if we create the causes, you can become. I can help you to become a Buddha because I became a Buddha. Otherwise, what is the need for a Buddha? Does you understand?
Okay.
Because then I will have the skillful means. We say that when we become a Buddha, we have three main characteristics, let's say like this. Complete, perfect wisdom, perfect compassion, or unlimited compassion, unsurpassed compassion, and power, means skillful means. Yes? So all of my being is going to be manifesting these three things. So then what happens? Can I change you? Can I make you a Buddha? No. What do you need to do in order to become that?
Same thing.
Create a wish to become a Buddha. If you don't create a wish to become a Buddha, you don't become a Buddha. If you don't have a wish to become a doctor, you don't become a doctor. Nobody becomes a doctor by accident. Nobody wins the lottery without buying the ticket.
Well, you
It's
could
just cause and effect.
find one on the side.
You understand? Without having a ticket. I'm going to put it like that. It's better for you to know. It's about if you don't have a ticket, right? So it's the same thing. So why would I want to become a Buddha? That's what we need to start developing in ourselves. Because if I develop myself into a Buddha, I have the tools to eliminate the suffering and the causes of my suffering, and I have the perfection to help others, the perfect tools, the perfect means to help others. Yes?
But it doesn't mean you can help others.
Well, you are better equipped to do it.
Right.
Because right now, I have almost no possibilities because the main barrier is not because you don't want to be helped. It's because I am thinking about what is in it for me. So I'm not even putting any effort to help you. Does it make sense what I mean? What I just said?
I don't think that applies to all cases.
Can you say that again?
I don't think it applies to all cases, that particular.
Give me an example.
Okay, so I had a friend who went into hospital and she asked me to take care of her cat.
Yes.
There was nothing in it for me.
Yes.
I said yes. I helped her take care of the cats while she was in hospital.
Mm-hmm.
After 2 months, I began feeling a little bit like this. I didn't want to take care of the cats because it was making me unhappy.
Yes.
I mean, there was nothing in it for me to take care of the cats.
No, nothing. Nothing for you.
Being a friend.
Helping a friend.
Yes.
What does your friend give to you? Love, compassion, kindness, nice to you, say how beautiful you are, go to the movies with you, do that and this, all of the things that you like. Would you do the same thing for a completely random, strange person?
I probably would if it
Oh.
was a cat.
Probably would have what?
Probably would
cat.
have if it were a cat. Asking me to take care of a cat. I would. It didn't matter who the person is.
I'll need your number.
Do you? You have cats, right? So do you understand? Of course, there is something there that we are getting out of it, even if it's not directly through that action. But maybe you're just keeping that friend. Maybe you're keeping that idea that you are a nice person. Maybe you're keeping many ideas that are feeding that. Hmm?
Okay.
I love your faces today. But someone
There's
else
also
has
something about the cat.
something about the cat.
But you have a
Definitely.
friend who you really, you have a friend you feel a lot of empathy for,
Mm.
just because of your history with that person.
Mhm.
But you realize they've gone off the deep end.
Yes.
It's the idea of skillful means doesn't even enter into it. Yeah, you feel like you're up against a brick wall. Do you therefore just not try? I'm trying to really grasp this.
Definitely, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try, but you need to have what is going to help you the situation as a whole entirely. It's you understanding the causes of the suffering. It's the same thing that I said to
Right,
Roy.
mental state.
It's not about even the mental state of that problem in that situation, right? It's not about only that. It's eliminating the entire mental states, negative mental states to coming back, right?
Or what?
The negative mental states to arise in our minds.
Right.
That's what we want to eliminate, right? So that is like understanding that you can say, I can do this and this and this, and I can help. But if this person doesn't want, there's not much I can do.
Right.
So that takes the pressure of you, of like, I have to. And then you have a little bit more of openness to say, what can I actually do to help this person? Maybe I just bring them to the Buddhist center. Maybe I'm just going to kind of like say to them, I cannot help you if you don't help yourself. I love you, but I can't. And that might be better for you and for this person. Because otherwise, you are clinging to something that is not possible to be achieved, which is to change that person. Yourself fixed that person, right? I had a very good friend that he had a problem with drugs. And I did everything to bring this person to rehab. Everything, right? When I say everything, like everything, and you don't know me, like how I can be, like even kind of like calling the police myself to get this person, right? To go to jail, to things like that. Really like this. I don't care. I have, because I understand a little bit more of this cause and effect. I don't care. The relative word is going to be, oh, wow, you're so bad. I don't care. Guess what? He doesn't want. So I realized that, oh, okay, I tried. I still love this person. I'm going to pray for them all the time. I'm going to be there whenever they need. But if they don't want, I have then other things starts to come up in my life. So I had to dedicate more time. And that's it. And then you just move on without any guilt, zero guilt. Does it make sense? You did your best. You tried. And the more I actually go, and then when I go and do retreat, and I see myself trying to meditate and trying to eliminate my own negative minds, my own self-cherishing, try to eliminate that, I say, wow, now I'm developing a better way to try to help my friend. Does it make sense? That's how it goes. That's how we kind of like we start to really use everything as a way to transform ourselves. That is the best way. is not about now looking for a temporary band-aid, or what did I say? Band-aid solution. Does it make sense?
You're talking about a place where there's no individuation and there's no space or time. I mean, we're talking about a place here.
What you talk about no individuation?
Well,
I don't understand.
people-
Sorry.
You're essentially dissolving everything into a perception.
Well, you are dissolving the perception that now is mistaken, right? You're dissolving the perception that now thinks that, oh, I can actually help others. I am I'm a compassionate person because I can help this person. But if you are still under the influence of your self-cherishing, selfish mind, and you're still having negative emotions, your helping is going to be limited, right? I'm not saying you cannot help, right? I didn't say that any moment is going to be limited. So it's going to be maybe fixing the external thing, fixing the pain, fixing, that kind of like, or fixing the trauma of this life and all of that. Great. Buddhism is not talking about that.
So it's not nihilistic, it's integrated.
It's definitely not nihilistic. It's saying, actually, the real way or the effective way is helping others to eliminate completely the causes of suffering, the negative emotions, and the seeds that they have in their minds. That's the best way. How do I do that? I cannot do that for them. So what I need to do, eliminate from my mind, so I can kind of like stop um, um, stop a barrier that can actually help them, right? Which is the barrier for me to actually help others is the selfish mind, my selfish mind, right? That's the biggest barrier because it's about me. So that, and I perfect my qualities. I perfect my skillful means. So then I have much more possibility of directly influencing or helping them. Influence is not a good word because it looks like, but helping in the sense of like creating the conditions so they can transform themselves. There's nothing more beautiful in this world. Honestly, I never had any more beautiful experience than helping others so they find ways within themselves to be free from suffering. It's like when someone comes and have an insight and say, oh, I don't need to follow this mindset anymore. Wow. Because they are freeing themselves. You didn't do anything. It's not about you. No, the person did. Empowering people to do that. Yes. Creating the conditions.
You did something.
Yes. Yeah. Of course, you kind of like helped to create the conditions for that, but the main cause is their own mind, right? And that is, wow, so special. So that is a little bit more of the type of compassion we are trying to practice in Buddhism. Does it make sense?
So it sounds like you're saying we really need to be a teacher in order to be able to bring that about.
I love it. I love Haley. Just like, yes, I like your mind.
How many years do we have to train?
How many lifetimes?
Is there not like a lower level?
So I'm just gonna say something that is gonna answer to you. If that would really be the case, these rooms should be hundreds of thousands of people coming here to listen to this. You don't need only ways being a monk, a teacher, or something like that. You can help in so many different ways. We say that, for example, Madre Teresa, she was a bodhisattva in her mind because she put it into practice, those actions, doing something absolutely different, right? So it's not about a specific one way, talking to people and explaining what we are discussing. That's not this. You can just become that and being a living example, and people learn from living examples quite a lot without the intellectual blah blah blah. Doesn't matter. We say that the Buddhas, they gonna manifest in whatever way is most beneficial to help that person develop that understanding and to be free from their suffering in mentally, the cause of their suffering. Even if it is, coming as a very nasty politician. Do you understand? It doesn't have a specific way. Doesn't. Yes? You're going to say something?
So compassion is a basic tenet of Buddhism, and whether it's Hinayana or Mahayana. Hinayana, they're going to exhibit compassion, but they're going for liberation. So what separates the Mahayana is going beyond karuna and going from Mahakaruna, wanting to become a Buddha, to be able to help everybody attain eliminate suffering and attain their own liberation. That's
so the difference is that when you have compassion in the lower kind of like the Hinayana school, is that you are actually trying to eliminate the focus is you want to eliminate your own causes of suffering, right? The suffering and your causes of suffering, attain your own liberation. You are not interested in perfecting your skillful means or your qualities. So when you achieve that, you can manifest in whatever way is necessary to help others.
And that's the mind. That's the mind of enlightenment.
That's the mind of enlightenment. When I say, wait a minute, if I just do that, but I see every single other being still suffering and I don't do anything, that is a smaller motivation. I still achieve in both motivations, I still achieve my own liberation, right? But I perfect my qualities, my positive emotions, so I can help others. And then I manifest in whatever way, then it becomes much vaster. Yeah, that's why we call a vaster motivation as well. Yeah. Okay. I hope it made any sense when we talked today. I hope it was in any way beneficial.
Absolutely.
But we're going to try to talk a little bit more and discuss a little bit more on these mental states and understanding a bit more what compassion is more, how wisdom plays a part of it, and how kind of like what type of compassionate. I just talked a little bit, I said aspirational, compassion and engaging compassion, but what does actually mean? We're going to talk a little bit more, go into more details into this. Yes, I'm very happy we are doing this. It's the first time I'm doing just a course on that subject, and I'm loving it already. So we're going to have so much fun. So thank you so much.
I'm glad you're having fun.
It's easy for me because I'm having fun. So thank you so much for coming and use, okay? Most important thing that we need to do is that any benefit that this blah, blah, blah caused in your mind, use it, apply it to your mind and to help others in whatever way you can. If it is taking care of the cat, if it is taking out of the pain and the nail, if it is, doing whatever, just use that to alleviate pain. And that is the best dedication we can bring to the world. Okay? Thank you so much, people online. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You had something, you were going to say something,
I
sorry.
was going to say, so in other words, you're saying that I need to focus on me, and my suffering in order to benefit everyone else.
I'm saying, by you understanding where this suffering comes from, your suffering, that is going to be the beginning of the transformation so you can help others. If you don't understand that, forget about it.
So it's still me.
It is. This is exactly what he's trying to say. That is being wisely selfish. You start to understand that, wait a minute, If I actually understand the cause of my suffering and that it is why my only me, and transforming it is going to become maybe, is going to bring me outside of it. That is being wisely selfish. We're going to talk about more about it. It's very good. You are good. You're a good debater. I like it. Thank you.
He's loving that.
Yes, I love debate.